Anyway, let's get Jackson up here. Any other angles that you guys want to get to in this series? Just pop those questions in the chat. We're going to take about 10, 15 minutes worth of questions here.
Let's do it. Most of the questions we're getting are Timberwolves questions. Let's start with the first one. It feels like Anthony Edwards has shrunk in some big moments. He didn't have a big scoring night tonight, and they lost in 5 last year in the Western Conference Finals. Not trying to hate, but what does he have to do to take the next step in his game?
Again, so like we talked about it earlier, I think again there's multiple ways to attack a coverage, right? And like the right way to attack the specific coverage that Ant was seeing tonight and that Ant has seen in this entire series is to drive the ball into the paint and make the corner kick. And he just did it over and over again tonight. I thought he did his job in terms of attacking the coverage. Here's the thing though. There is a certain element of scoring that is impervious to coverage that Shea has that Ant doesn't have right now. Ant has it in the form of the pull-up three or the 4 or 5 drives a game where he'll just knife through like 3 dudes and like Euro step and somehow find his way at the front of the rim. But again, you're going to be limited to being a 16 point a game playmaker in a slow down half court game where the team is loading up on you unless you build some sort of reliable over the top game. And for the record, guys, like you want to know why James Harden never had success as like a sustainable, reliable offensive threat in the postseason? It was because his half court, I need a bucket shot when teams would load up the paint and help on him and do all that stuff was step back three. And look, the step back three is a useful shot to have in your bag. I don't want to sit here and denigrate the step back three, but if it's all you got, then you are absolutely handcuffing yourself. And I think there's a certain reliability to having that, okay, you've got 3 dudes waiting for me in the paint. I've got a defender in front of me that I know I can shoot over, but I need to get to a spot where I can make half of these. And that is around the elbows. That is in the short corner. And Shea has that in his game. Ant, like, we talked about it throughout this postseason run. Ant took like more than twice as many mid-range jump shots just last year in the postseason. And he just needs to build that part out of his game. And if anything, getting into the offseason and watching the tape from this series, he just needs to look at not the fouls that Shea has drawn, but look at the shots that Shea has made in this series and look at where they've come from. Because he's getting his opportunities right there at the elbows, regardless of what the coverage is.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question about Ant. We talk a lot about conditioning for some stars, most often ones that are a little bit less athletic. But if it seems like Ant might have been gassed at the end of the game tonight. It seems like he's been gassed at the end of games before. Do you feel like he needs to work on his conditioning?
I think that there is a certain downhill verve that Ant plays with that would exhaust any player in terms of like this. Like, let me just put it this way: this is another reason why he needs to have that slow down game. Like, what does Shea look like when he's walking down a team? He looks like almost too relaxed, but like he just kind of has like this kind of slouchy look, and he just has slinky arms as he's dribbling the ball around. His ability to work with his back to the basket around the elbows is a way to conserve energy throughout a game. And like right now, you know what are I would argue the 2 toughest shots you can take as a basketball player is a contested rim attempt and a contested step back three in terms of like difficulty on the body. Beating one defender to slalom through a second defender to elevate over a third defender is exhausting. And to get separation from an elite on-ball defender to then lift from 27 feet from the basket and get enough lift for you to be able to flip the wrist and get the ball there, that's going to take a lot of energy. And so I think that's part of it. The conditioning, like I didn't see a moment tonight where I felt like Ant was too tired to score. I just thought he took threes and wasn't making them because those are high variance shots. And he was consistently getting into the paint, making the kickouts. He doesn't have the indomitable scoring trait that Shea has yet. And he's got all the tools for it. He's just got to build it out.
Yeah, I think Richard Jefferson is kind of up and down as a commentator, but I did like at the very end of the game when he was like, look at Shea. He's literally walking. He's literally walking to get to his spot right now. It's like that is such a crazy thing to say about an NBA basketball player in crunch time. He's actually walking to his spot.
And it works for him. Like that's just he doesn't let the game speed him up.
Right. Okay, another Timberwolves question, and then we'll do a Thunder question. What, assuming the Timberwolves don't come back from 3-1, what do you think the Timberwolves need to do this offseason to sort of get to the place beyond where they've gotten the last two seasons?
I mean, there's like nitpicky stuff. Like I don't know if I was a Timberwolves fan, I would be so sick to my stomach after watching that Julius Randle performance, and I would be really, really concerned about the realities that come in line with the thing with what Julius did tonight that drives me especially crazy is adversity is just like non-negotiable in the postseason. Like it's just a non-negotiable. Like you're just unless you're on the 2017 Warriors, which is the most talented roster ever assembled, like or you're like that Celtics team last year in the East. Like there are a handful of examples where a team can ride a supreme talent advantage all the way through to the finish line, but it's exceptionally rare. And generally speaking, you're going to face adversity. Like J Dub was so bad in the Denver series, like so bad in the Denver series last round, but like he didn't quit on his team. He went 1 for 15 or whatever the hell it was that he went, or 4 for 17. And then like he kept trying to make something happen and he conquered those demons and has been fantastic in this series. I would be terrified with the Julius Randle thing if I like signed up long term for that he's gonna just in a big spot bow out on his team because things didn't go his way. Um, as far as the rest of the roster, like I'm over the Rudy Gobert experience. I think if you're paying 30 plus $1 million to a player that can't get a defensive rebound, that is his defensive value is substantially lower than his pedigree would lead you to believe, and who legitimately can't catch and finish anything in traffic. Like, you want to know why we all freaked out on that dunk at Hartenstein? We're like, oh shit, I can't believe he did that, because it's just so unusual for him to like make a play in traffic in a situation like that. And so I think there's certain conversations you need to have about resource allocation. Like, I love Naz Reid, love Nikhil Alexander Walker. I think Dante DiVincenzo is a playoff player. Mike Conley battles, Ant is the foundational piece of your franchise, but I'd be looking strongly at the Randall Gobert pairing and just be looking in the big picture what gives me the best chance. But don't let that take away from the fact that I do think that if Ant was better, they could have won this series. Ant's 23 years old. He, in the next 2 to 3 seasons, needs to build out a reliable part of his game. I'm looking at Synergy right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is shooting 54% on jump shots inside of 17 feet. That is so reliable to be able to go to a shot that he can make more than half the time. That's like, I think if Ant builds that out, that is what will get him to the point where he can elevate some of these rosters to far above what they're capable of.
Yeah, I think the Gobert offensive struggles are one thing because he's not an offensive player, but it's kind of crazy to see him let up so many offensive rebounds. It's like this is your
Oh
second
God.
most important thing behind being, a rim protector, and Case and Wallace is just out rebounding. Like what is
Dude,
happening?
the Kason Wallace one was like I was floored watching it. I literally I was you competing so hard to get a stop against this
So
offense,
hard.
and he stood there. He stood there and watched. Like, rebounding is about going and getting the fucking basketball. There is definitely a ground battle part of it, especially when you're dealing with really big bodies that you need to keep ground bound, but it is a roster wide 5-man pursuit of the basketball. And Oklahoma City was faster to the ball tonight.
Yeah. And it's like it's one thing I know I've seen a lot of NBA players talk about this, how when you do have to play that ground game, we have to box out like in the Warriors against the Rockets. When you're Draymond Green and you're boxing up Steven Adams, you're not going to get the basketball. But everyone else needs to go get
Exactly.
the basketball. Rudy Gobert is not boxing at anybody. Like I'm like, what are you doing, man? Crazy, crazy performance from Rudy Gobert. One more question, and then we'll go over to playback. Is the amount of threes that OKC is giving up to the Timberwolves, as you've talked extensively about as part of their scheme, is that a potential problem against teams that are better at generating threes and or have better converting players, 3-point shooters? Like the Pacers are really good at generating threes, and the Knicks have quite a few shooters.
I thought Minnesota made him pay for it over and over again tonight.
For sure.
Minnesota got this is crazy, 2.08 points per catch and shoot, per unguarded catch and shoot three. Um, they generated 13 of them. And I'll look up the makes later because I don't want to inundate the show right here. But like they've made them pay for it. But like here's the thing, like Chris Finch, I thought, went with his base defensive scheme to start the series, and I thought that was a mistake. I think that Mark Daigneault going with his base defensive scheme against Indiana would be a mistake. I do.
Okay.
So I think Indiana is in the same way that like for Ant, making him a playmaker forces him to confront his weaknesses. And by the way, he's making some signs of growth, but there's still a lot of potential there. To me, the weakness for Tyrese Halliburton is like, let's see you go get a bucket against Chet over and over again. Let's see you go get a
Right.
bucket against Hartenstein over and over again, or your on-ball defender, a guard that you like against a switch. So I think if you just let Tyrese Halliburton, because here's the thing, Tyrese Halliburton never turns the ball over. That's like his superpower. So if you let him dribble the ball up the floor and you load up the strong side and you let him just pitch it to Siakam in the weak side corner or Neesmith in the weak side corner all series long, then you're going to make what should be an unwinnable series into a winnable series for Indiana. So let's keep an eye on the game plan. Here's my thing. In this series, Oklahoma City's base game plan happened to line up with what is the most appropriate way to guard the Timberwolves. It doesn't in the next series, so they need to make that adjustment accordingly. And I think we'll see. And by the way, if he doesn't one game, sure, whatever. But like if by game two they're still doing it and the games are more competitive than they should be, that'd be something that I would look at.